It's streak week. Lots of wins, lots of losses. And Aaron Judge, you can have my right toe. First pitch is next. What's going on, guys? Welcome to episode 36 of Bringing the Heat. My name's Cody Pye, and with me, as always, the four-seam fastball co-host, Will Sism. Will, man, what a week, dude. How you doing?
Doing pretty well. It's been a long week. Had the little girl has been sick, so it's been a little bit of a challenge this week, but we're making it. Man. And you know what? It's been on the baseball front of things, though. There is no shortage of storylines this week. A lot happening. We're going to try to cover it all.
Dude, we were just talking just moments ago. What a fun first season for this show, to really dive in and really pay attention to baseball every week. Every division, it's stacked. Guys, before we dive in, a little episode breakdown. We'll start with where do we stand. That's kind of where we look at every division and go from there. Our Heat Check Player of the Week, we'll do that next. And those are just our all-stars, our standout players. What's on the Grill with Will follows that. That'll be our topic segment where Will and I have come up with some pretty interesting things to talk about. Second to last, Studs and Duds. Studs and Duds, we've made it to outfield, dude. We made it all the way around the infield, and now it's time to see who's over and underperformed in the outfield. And then the Roman Candle Pick to Click. Oh, man, this is starting to turn into Will just dominant, man. He's got the hot hand, but we'll talk about that later. Am I changing? Maybe it's the changing of the guard this week. So you have to stay tuned to find out, guys. But before we dive in, some breaking news before we hit the desk here, Will. Aaron Judge has a torn ligament in his right big toe, and he can't walk, experiences pain when he walks. They were talking previously, like 2 days ago, that we're going to start some baseball activities. That is no longer the case, man. No timetable at this time. Yankees are hurting without him. They're 31-19 when Judge is in the lineup, 11-16 when he's absent. Are their playoff chances over?
Man, that's a good question. I mean, their lineup is sure suffering. That's for sure. I mean, we've talked numerous times already about how really dependent that lineup is on Aaron Judge to be in the middle of, and kind of similar, honestly, to the Astros. The Astros are kind of experiencing the same thing right now without Alvarez, maybe to a little bit lesser extent. But no, going back to the Yankees and Judge, I mean, it's obviously not good news. We have no idea what the timeline's going to be right now, and that's a little bit scary. I mean, really, you know, kind of going back to your question, though, I mean, I think that it's all going to boil down to, you know, can the Yankees starting rotation and the bullpen, can they be essentially top three in the league moving forward? Because I think that's really their ticket at this point to get one of those wild card spots. Because, I mean, that lineup is average at best without Aaron Judge. And, you know, we'll see how long he's out for. Obviously, it doesn't sound like it's going to happen too quickly. I mean, I think minimum we're probably looking at a few weeks after the All-Star break, if I just had to guess.
Yeah.
If not longer.
That's best case to me. That's
right.
Best case.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, if you're a Yankees fan, this is not good news because, I mean, we've said this before, too. The problem is the division they're in. They're obviously already way behind Tampa. They're a good ways away behind Baltimore right now. And Toronto, you know, I think a lot of people would say that there's still a run in Toronto. So, yeah, obviously not good news. But, I mean, their only shot right now while he's out is for that rotation and bullpen to hold the fort down. Yeah,
I mean, they have help on the way, right? You have Rodon coming, which could be helpful. But, man, Sevy looked good today. So the rotation, like you said, has to pick it up. Dude, I don't know.
It's tough.
I mean, I think the division's gone, right? I would say
for sure.
They're not making a run to win the division without Judge in that lineup. Wild card, they're a half game up for that last wild card spot. We'll see. I think things just got a lot interesting. There's a lot of outs in that lineup. Listen, we're Rays fans and Red Sox fans, respectfully, but we are not rooting against anybody. This is a big loss for the game. He was actually on pace to hit more than 62 home runs before he got hurt. So, and you know, he did it making a play in right field at Dodger Stadium. listen, no one dislikes the Yankees more than me, but he's so much fun to watch, and I kind of felt like we were in this. It's kind of like with DeGrom, right? We were in this window of excellence, and that is being taken away from us. So,
and I would say too, like from a fantasy perspective, man, for the people who have Aaron Judge on their team, I'm one of them in one of our leagues. Like it is. I mean, you literally cannot replace a guy like that. So, yeah, from a fantasy standpoint, if you're unlucky enough to have him right now, it's going to be probably tough sledding for at least a month or more. So we'll see.
Yeah, in those big leagues too, man. There's going to be nothing. I mean, you can't replace him. You can't replace him. Let's dive into what the rest of the league is looking like, guys, and where do we stand? We'll start in the American League. As always, this has been a fun year for you because every year we start to dive into the standings. We look at the top dog, man, and that is Tampa Bay at 53-27, 5-5 in their last 10. Baltimore still hanging in, 4.5 games back. They're 46-29. Then the Yankees, like we talked about, they're 9.5 games back at first. And then Toronto and Boston hanging out. Pretty solid there. In the American League Central, Minnesota, they have crept above 500 once again. It is a seesaw affair, 39-38. Game and a half up on Cleveland at 37-39. Then you got the Tigers, White Sox, and Kansas City. In the West, you got Texas still doing the dang thing, 47-29. Houston, pretty tough week for Houston. That's the cap I'm donning if you're on the audio only side, and we are trying to summon up some good ball for the Astros here. That's what this is for. 41-35, 6 games back, and then the Angels 41-36, half game back of Houston. Seattle 3 games back of the Angels. Dude, big clump there, and then you have Oakland, which is the baseball team. And they're back firmly in with that first round pick or the first overall pick in the draft next year. What do you like in the American League, Will?
Yeah, it's really just kind of more of the same. I mean, the East, it feels like Tampa, Baltimore. It's been that way for a while. Really since the first couple of weeks in the season, they had honestly separated themselves, and it's still kind of the case. Obviously we talked about the Judge news just a minute ago. It's going to be tough for the Yankees, and I will say I do think Toronto's got a little bit of a run in them, but man, it's going to be hard for Toronto to catch either Baltimore or Tampa at this point, unless they just get crazy hot. Having said that, I think the Blue Jays are going to be the benefactors of the Judge being out for a while. The Central is kind of what we've said all along. It's just as mediocre as it gets. I do feel like the Guardians are starting to play a little bit better. The problem with the Guardians, though, man, they need Shane Bieber to be an ace because they're built around that pitching staff and kind of getting to that bullpen. In low-scoring games, winning a bunch of close games. And if Shane Bieber is not like the, pitching like an ace like he has in years past, it's going to be tough for Cleveland because they just don't score enough runs consistently.
Yeah. He got roughed up again.
Correct. And having said that, though, I mean, the Central is so mediocre. I mean, they've got as good a shot as anybody.
This is true.
I really expect Cleveland and Minnesota to kind of be battling it out really for the most of the season in the Central. And then out west, man, Houston's just having a hard time without Yordan. I mean, he's just such a major piece to that lineup. And with him being out, man, there's a kind of like what you said about the Yankees. There's just a lot of outs in that lineup, kind of in the bottom of that order. And the pitching, honestly, other than Framber's been awesome. But other than Framber, that pitching staff's had a little bit of a little leaky lately. So, keep your eye on Houston. I'm interested to see what they do at the deadline. The West is interesting, though. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I don't know if my Marcus Astroman pick is going to come to fruition because the Cubs have picked it up a little bit. Yeah, I agree with you, man. Everything you said in the American League is pretty spot on. We'll see. Just more of the same. As we transition to the National League, guys, The top of the top is still Atlanta, and they look good doing it. 49-27. They're 9-1 in their last 10. Then 6 games back of them in the East. Miami still playing still pretty solid ball. Minus 17 run differential. Will, that's pretty tough. You got Philly 4 games behind them at 39-37. Then the Mets 6 games under 500, 35-41. Washington hanging out in last place in the East. In the Central, this is a big team we're going to talk about. It came to an end this evening, but what a streak it was for the Cincinnati Reds. 12-game winning streak, and they are a game and a half up on Milwaukee in the Central at 41-36. Milwaukee hanging in. Of course, they don't exist in our mind because they got swept by the Oakland A's. So
right.
We're just going to skip them. Moving on to the Cubs. Moving on to the Cubs. What a week they've had, 9-1 in their last 10 as well. Man, didn't have that in my book that the Reds and Cubs were going to go off like this in June there, Will. 37-38. Then Pittsburgh. I said it's streak week. They've lost, they lost 10 in a row before winning yesterday. 35-41, how the mighty have fallen. And then how the mighty have stayed down in St. Louis. They're still, I don't know, doing Cardinal things this year. It has been, I don't get it, man. You still look at the team. They got crushed again today in London. I don't get it. In the West, Arizona. Woo, this is a fun one. Arizona, 46-32, a game and a half up on the Dodge. Wait, San Francisco Giants.
Yep.
What a week for them. We talk streaks. How about 10 in a row? And San Fran looking good. And they don't care who they're playing. They'll whip San Diego. And they'll whip the Giants. It's been a pretty good run for them. Dodgers in third place. Haven't said that too much in recent baseball history. And then you got San Diego and Colorado, more of the same at the 4 and 5 spot. Will, what do you got in the National League?
Man, can we just say, I know we've talked a lot about Atlanta over, the course of the show, but this is impressive what the Braves are doing. I mean, they've got arguably their best starter on the IL, Max Fried, who's been there for a while, and they're just not missing a beat, man. They just bring up a young guy, and he pitches well enough or really good, and that lineup is so good. You can't hold down that lineup to just a couple of runs. Like, you have to score minimum, it feels like 5-6 runs to consistently beat the Braves, and that's hard to do.
Yeah.
So the Braves are just such a good team. But shout out to the Marlins hanging in there. The Phillies we talked about the last week or two. They're starting to figure some things out. The Mets are still struggling. So we'll see what happens moving forward. As far as the Central go, you kind of said it. I think we both knew that the Pirates at some point, it was just kind of bound to happen that they were going to kind of fall a little bit. So, shout out to them, though, for getting out to such a good start. And I think that they've got some good pieces to at least build around. But you said it, man. The Reds, the Reds might be the most fun team to watch in the whole major league right now.
Yeah.
And if you watch their games now, that stadium is almost full every night. It is. I just think it's awesome. Like, I've got a couple of buddies of mine that are Reds fans, and I tell you what, if Tampa Bay's not on TV, and I get the opportunity to watch any game I want, I'm turning the Reds on.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. I think they're the most talented team in the Central now. I did say earlier in the year that I do like what the Cubs are doing. I hope that the Cubs can hang in there because, to be honest with you, they might have the next best chance behind the Reds in the Central.
Yeah.
And then to sum it up, I feel like I have not given the respect that I should have to the Giants.
Yeah.
I feel like the Giants might be the most underappreciated team in all of Major League Baseball. They don't really have anybody on that roster that you look at that roster and you're like, oh, superstar.
Correct.
They don't really have that guy,
Yep.
But they're just a winning organization, and for them to do what they're doing in the West, currently ahead of the Dodgers, right on the heels of the Diamondbacks, without any sort of what we would think of as a superstar, That's impressive. So shout out to the Giants. I hope they can hang in there. And yeah, it's impressive.
Yeah, all behind Logan Webb, and he's looked really good for that pitching staff. You're right, man. I didn't really. I mean, you got Lamont Wade Jr. That's the big name. But if you go to a baseball casual, I mean, maybe they'll know Jock Peterson's over there. But could they tell you 5 of the 9 guys in the starting? Could they tell you what a Blake Sable is? I don't know.
Yeah.
It is. It's pretty amazing. And
Tyro Estrada.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, there we are. We're just naming Giants players. This is good. No, seriously, it's very impressive. And claps for Gabe Kapler. He did it in 21, and they regressed big time last year. I think they were a 500 baseball team, but man, they have looked good. They're something special. And I don't know, the way they do it, it's very Rays-esque. I mean, to be honest. So they're the West, guys. Stay up late because those games start late. But man, it's a lot of fun baseball to watch. 2 things on the Central I want to mention, and then we'll move on. Pittsburgh, Bednar is back in play.
Yep,
big time, which I didn't really think about until right now. And then Will, the 5 teams in the Central. Can you tell me the only team with a positive run differential?
I would say, oh man, that's a good question. I bet it's not the Reds because of their start. Let's go. God, I hate to even say this, but is it Milwaukee?
Cubs.
Is it the Cubs? Wow.
Cubs plus 34, and everybody else negative. So
wow.
Who knows, man? Maybe the Cubs had the most talent. They sure looked good in London. They were. Whew. Real quick side note, and we definitely don't have time for this, but how awkward is it? I don't know if you caught that game. They had Goldschmidt on the mic at first base for St. Louis as the Cubs were hitting home runs, and it's just like, what do you say? I mean, as the announcer, you got to go all in on Ian Happ hits it to deep center field, and he's got it in his ear. I just feel so bad. I was just like, oh, what do you do if you're Goldie right there? Anyway, Will, we talked about the National Leagues and some studs in the National League, and we got a couple more, man. Let's hit Heat Check Player of the Week. There it was. It was late, okay, but it's there, guys. Okay,
tell me who you're. Sizzle.
Woo, got the sizzle, man. It's time to go. Tell me who you like.
Man, I can't overlook this guy.
Nobody can.
He has instantly become, behind maybe Wander Franco and a couple of my Rays guys, he has instantly become one of my favorite players in the league, and he's only been in the league for a couple of weeks. Yeah. It's Elly De La Cruz, man. Just this week, he's got 11 hits and only 20 official at bats, so over a 500 batting average. He's hit 2 home runs. He's stolen 2 bases. He's hit a triple because he had a cycle just last night. 9 runs scored in 5 or 6 games and 6 RBIs on top of that. I mean, the guy is electric. He's the fastest guy. Like, if you watch him run, it's a different kind of speed because he's a really tall guy.
Yeah.
And it just looks like almost like a thoroughbred just running the bases. Like, it's honestly amazing to watch a guy that big. I've never seen anything like it. Because when you think of like other guys that are just crazy fast in the Major League Baseball right now, you think of guys like Corbin Carroll, you think of Bobby Witt, you think of Estuary Ruiz.
Yep.
Those guys are all kind of built a little bit more compact, but De La Cruz is so just big. It's just amazing. I mean, the guy is, I don't want to put the cart before the horse right now because I know he's just a couple of weeks into the season, but man, what a fun talent. Cincinnati, you have hit the lottery with this guy.
Yeah, no kidding, man. We'll dive in what's on the grill, but it is something spectacular watching him play. I mean, the Twitter sphere this morning just going nuts with the cycle and almost had 2 home runs. That double hit the very top of the wall. Very easy power to all fields.
Switch hitter?
Switch hitter. I mean, what's not to like? The only thing that makes me nervous, and golly, I'm knocking on wood on my end, is you get nervous with somebody with that kind of build and staying healthy for 162. But as far as I can tell, really not something he's dealt with. So Lord willing, he stays healthy because, man, he is fun to watch. I think about Tatis when he came up.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same feeling. It's the same feeling. I mean, this guy, first-round talent. I mean, I know, dude, it's been 3 weeks. You know what I mean? But what do you...
Without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah. Yep. It's wild, guys. It's wild. What a game changer. You just probably picked him up off of waivers. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Pretty cool. My guy, I kind of have to raise my hand, for this. I don't know. Michael Harris II. I guess I kind of gave up on him, but then I'm back in. I don't know what that says about me, but, man, he had about as abysmal of a start as you can have for the first 2 months of the season. I got numbers. I do, Will. Before June, a 174 average, slugging 266. Anybody keeping score at home, that's not good. For a 526 OPS, dealt with some injuries. Like we were saying, back a couple weeks ago, just not good at bats. I mean, didn't look locked in, looked off balance, swinging at just not competitive pitchers. And since the beginning of June, man, has he turned it up. What about a 375 average, a 611 slug, a 998 OPS, 4 home runs, 13 RBIs? He's still batting ninth. Still not walking much. That's kind of been his thing. But his K rate has come down a lot. He's got it to 16%, which is above league average.
Yeah.
So pretty solid for him. And it's just like you were saying, the Braves are a wagon, and this guy's a big reason why. They are so good. Let's see. So here's the deal. This is kind of what I was thinking when I was looking all this stuff up. Are the first 2 months in your mind for draft season next year, if he keeps on the pace he is, which I think he'll fall off a little bit. I mean, he's not going to hit 375 the rest of the year. I hope he does. I've got him on enough teams where I hope he does. But do you think this kind of like the first 2 months is all forgotten and he'll still go in the second or third round next year?
I mean, I would say that there's a pretty decent chance if he obviously it's like you said, it all depends on how he, continues to go throughout the season. But if he looks much more like what we've seen over the past couple of weeks for the remainder of the season, then yes, I think that most everybody would be willing to kind of overlook and push to the side those first couple of months. Assuming he does really well the rest of the year, absolutely. I think he's probably going in the same range that he did this year. Yeah. Now, if he, kind of regresses again and has a big slump, kind of like what he did those first couple of months, then we've got to kind of reassess. Like he might, if that's the case, he may very well drop some rounds. I mean, I think here's the thing with him, though. Guys with age on their side, guys that are really young and that have shown an elite ability like he already has in his young career, we kind of tend to give them a little bit more leniency, so to speak, in fantasy drafts each year because we know kind of the ceiling is very, very high with guys like this. Now, we've talked about it on here. Maybe the problem with that is they also have a little bit lower floors than some guys.
Sure.
So it all depends on, I always say, all you have to have is one person in your league that loves the guy.
Yep.
If you're in a 10-team league, if you're in an 8-team league, if you're in a 12-team league, whatever it is, all it takes is one guy to love Michael Harris, and he'll go plenty early. I can assure you that.
Yeah. A lot of Braves fans out there, guys. A lot
of
Braves fans. For sure. For sure. All right, buddy. Hey, let's transition a little bit with What's on the Grill with Will. We got some good topics here, man. I like them. A lot of fun stuff happened in a week in baseball. And we'll hit on kind of what we've touched on quite a bit to start the show, the Reds. What a week and a half for the Reds, a 12-game winning streak. Of course, the Braves had to go and end that tonight, okay, because I was going to say 13. Lucky number 13. Can't say it now. That's the tricky part, recording a couple days early here, guys. But 12-game streak and all that it was. Took a couple from the Cardinals and then swept the Royals. It's probably a scheduled tweet. You could have probably put that out beforehand. But what about this? Took 3 from the Astros, 3 from the Rockies. Team looks pretty elite. You texted me this morning that if the Reds can find some pitching, they're going to be a problem, and I agree with you. First team since the 1890 Louisville. You know the team name? It's a classic team.
So it's the Colonels, right?
Colonels. It's the Colonels. That's exactly. Man, you're right on it, dude. 12-game winning streak following a 100-loss season beforehand. So, maybe another 100 years we'll have it happen again. I don't know, dude. That was news to me.
You know what's ironic about that is the Reds AAA affiliate is the Louisville Bats. So there's kind of a correlation there.
There you go. I like it. That seems like low-hanging fruit, naming a baseball team the Bats.
I know, right?
It's pretty awesome. Hey, well, if you were a fan of the Bats, you probably had some good players to watch over the years because they're up they're up dominating at the big league level. Something fun about this team that I didn't realize until this morning, they have 27 comeback wins, and before losing today, they had 5 straight comeback wins. So that's, pay for the whole seat, only use the edge of it kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then you kind of alluded to it a little bit, but at the beginning of this year, on April 17th, they played a game in front of 375 people.
Wow.
That was the least in the history of the Great American Ballpark.
Wow.
Now, last night, they sold out 43,086 people. Winning cures all. What do you think, man? Is this sustainable? Are the Reds the real deal?
You know what? I really... All right, I'll say it again, kind of like what you alluded to. I think if they can, I think a big deal for them for the rest of this year, and obviously moving forward, but for this year, they really need Hunter Green to come back healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully his injury is pretty minor. Hopefully he has kind of a minimum stay on the IL, but we'll see. They really need Hunter Green. They do need Lodolo to come back at some point. I know he's on the 60-day, so his is more significant. But we'll see what happens with him.
They're looking at August 1st.
As
potential.
And I'm really interested to see what they do at the trade deadline because, all of this has happened so quick. It feels like 3-4 weeks ago that the Reds were honestly kind of an afterthought.
Yeah.
And now here we are, 12-game winning streak, that ended today, but 12-game winning streak on top of the NL Central.
Mm-hmm.
The spark plug of all spark plugs and Elly De La Cruz is the talk of baseball. So it'll be really interesting to see what they do at the trade deadline. I would love to see them bolster that bullpen. I would love to see them add they don't have to add just a crazy elite guy for starting pitching, but they need what I would call an innings eater.
Sure.
They need a veteran that can come in, give them some solid innings, eat up some innings. And then, like I said, hopefully Hunter Green comes back healthy and Lodolo at some point. But I do think they're for real, man. I know we've talked a ton about De La Cruz, and rightfully so. But I tell you what, man, Jonathan India has looked much more like his Rookie of the Year self this year. He looks like a really solid cornerstone player for them. I really like Spencer Steer. I really like Matt McClain. Everybody in baseball, the talking heads are talking about Encarnacion Strand, who's still in the minors.
Yeah.
Joey Votto is back. We'll see what he can give them. So
I like Votto being back as a leader for that team. I don't know if you saw the quotes. He was talking about how he feels like a rookie having to come up and earn it with this team.
Yeah.
I think he's something special, and he's been there for so long that he could very easily have just strutted in there and said, that first base, that's my spot. But he does not want to be an anchor for this team. You see it so many times in Major League Baseball. The veterans come in and they're batting .220 and they're not really helping. Will Myers, they just let Will Myers go, DFA'd him, and it was kind of that moment. Now, I'm not saying he's not a team player, but
correct.
Dude, it's something special, and I feel like we're kind of at the start of something here. It's pretty exciting. Between them and Baltimore, man, we got a lot of young baseball. Texas too, a lot of changing of the guards this season, huh?
Yep, and to close the book on Cincinnati, they've also got a couple of guys what I call just really good ball players, guys like TJ Friedel, Jake Fraley. Like, I really like guys like that. It's not just the superstars that are carrying you. Like, you've got everyday type players that know exactly what their roles are. They don't try to do too much.
Right.
And I don't know, man. I really think the Reds are a pitcher or two away of just being a much more complete team and a dangerous team when and if they get into the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm so curious who's going to add. I feel like they have to, right?
Yep.
I mean, and I don't even know that it needs to be a bullpen arm, but I mean, it could be. I maybe get Chapman from the – listen, Royals are going to have a fire sale, man, and they got some good ones. And, dude, we do this late night recording, and I don't want to – Scott Barlow. I was like, I'm going to blank on a name. Well, it happens every time we do this at night. No, they're going to have some arms and maybe even a bat or two. I don't know. Yeah, dude, it's exciting. It's exciting. Hey, let's transition to something that's a little less exciting for you. But, man, as this has unfolded, I have wanted to talk to you about it badly. Let's talk about your first place Tampa Bay Rays, okay? They benched their young superstar. It's been kind of a turbulent week. I mean, even peeling back to that series with the Athletics where they split 4. Then they lose the series, 3-game set to the Padres, split with the Orioles. And then it's a 4-game set, but have lost 2 of 3 to Kansas City. And there is reason to think that maybe it's because, I don't know, you benched your best player. They held Wander Franco out Thursday and Friday of this week as a result of the way he handles his frustrations and actions towards being a good teammate. This is kind of the headline that you see when you look this up. Obviously, in baseball, they're not going to give details and what they said. But here is the quote from Cash. Typed it in, Will, so I'm going to read it. Everybody, buckle up. Here we go. Wander's a really good kid, really good person. He's a young player learning and dealing with the challenges of being a Major League Baseball player and the frustrations that come with it. Over the course of the season, there's been probably multiple times that the way he handled his frustrations have not been the way we ask our players to uphold being the best teammate. Dude, I got to know. What are your thoughts on this?
Oh God, a lot to unpack. So I will say I was actually I was watching a little bit of the Baltimore Tampa game. I think it was on. I think it was it was either Tuesday or Wednesday. It was the second of the 2-game set, and Wander Franco had started off the game 0 for 3. He was at his 4th at bat. And if I'm not mistaken, I think he struck out the first 3 plate appearances. And on his 4th at bat, this was like in the 7th or 8th inning, he hits just a weak ground ball, and they threw him out. And not even about halfway down the first baseline, he took his bat with him, and you could tell he didn't even run to first base. He just immediately darted back into the dugout, and the camera kind of cut away, but it looked like he was just going to slam his bat or hit the water coolers or something, throw some kind of temper tantrum. Yeah. And I was like, huh. And so going back to your question, I think that's sort of where it started, at least from what I could tell. I think that's kind of what it started with. Yeah. But I don't love it. I mean, obviously Wander Franco is the Rays' most talented player. I don't think anybody can really argue that. They've got a bunch of great players, but I think Wander Franco, him and Shane McClanahan, that's the franchise, right?
You took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah. So, obviously whenever this happens to one of your franchise players, it's not ideal. But here's kind of my thing. I trust Kevin Cash. I really do. I think he's, say what you want to about how he managed the World Series a couple of years ago, but I think this guy's as good as anybody at what he does. I think he's got a great feel for that clubhouse. I trust that he's making the right decision for that clubhouse.
Yeah.
As far as Wander goes, everything that I've ever read about him I second what the quote said. It seems like he's a really genuinely good guy.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is just my opinion. I think something that happens though with superstar players or guys that are just like crazy talented, especially guys that are this young,
Mm-hmm.
oftentimes they've never really experienced heavy failure in their life.
Yeah.
I mean, think about Wander Franco at the single A level. Like, it's literally a man among boys.
Mm-hmm.
Even when he gets to double and triple A, like he's so much better than everybody else.
Yeah.
Like he's
caught up at 19, right?
yeah, like
Yeah.
he's like he's not failing whatsoever at any of those lower levels. And so now when he's going through maybe a little bit of a rough patch,
Mm-hmm.
and he's getting super frustrated, it just kind of builds,
Sure.
and this kind of stuff happens. So to sum it up, not ideal. I trust Kevin Cash. I hope that this kind of blows through and it's not really an issue moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the thing. What if the Rays start playing better baseball
Yeah.
and winning like they were at the start of the season,
Sure.
this will be a non-issue a few weeks from now.
Yeah. No, it's a good point, dude. Just like with the Reds, and I mean, they can do no wrong. It feels a little bit like the Rays. This is the first adversity they've had to face this season. I thought it was kind of weird, though. I'll be honest, and I mean, not as close to it as you were, but I don't know that Cash needed to really say anything. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess he could have said anything. He could have said wasn't feeling well.
Yeah.
We'd rather handle this behind closed doors. They sent him home. Sent him home. He wasn't at the game. He wasn't wearing his hoodie with his buddies supporting the team. They said, dude, just go home and don't come tomorrow either. And we'll see on Saturday. It's pretty weird. You gotta. I mean, like you said, he's the franchise. He's in the second year of this 11-year deal, and it's a marriage, and you've got to figure out the sweet spot there. By no means do I think this is like a Marmol situation, where this is like blatant disrespect towards the player. And even Wander came out today and said, like he thinks the Rays did the best, for the team and this, that, and the other. So I don't think this is a huge story. We'll probably talk about it, and then, I mean, he's so talented. I mean, 6 weeks ago we were talking about him flipping the ball to himself and then whipping to the first base for a routine put out. So I don't know. I
just trust Kevin Cash. I think he's got the finger, the pulse of the clubhouse. I think I would imagine he knows Wander well enough, that relationship well enough to where, I don't know. To me, it seems like Kevin Cash was trying to send a message.
Yeah.
By saying, like, kind of what you were saying. Like, there was a reason that Kevin Cash said that to the media. And so, to me, it sounds like he was trying to send a message. Maybe no man is bigger than the team type of thing.
Correct. Yeah, and I was just thinking.
That's kind of what it feels like to me.
Yeah, and I mean, that the Rays haven't had a lot of $180 million players. So this is that time where it's like he's got to step up. Okay, okay, you're Mr. Dollar Bill. We understand that, but you have still got to adhere to the standards that is Tampa Bay Ray baseball. And hey, it's been working for them. They've been really good for a really long time. Let's move on to something kind of interesting. We'll touch on it quick here, Will. Angels GM says Ohtani is not likely to be traded. This came out on Tuesday. Very interesting. They've fallen off a little bit, but they're still in third place in the standings and right in the hunt of that wild card spot. They are half game back. So, obviously, a lot of balls still up in the air here, man. We talked about it early in the season and how it kind of felt like a huge loss for the Angels if they don't get something for Ohtani. And I still think that holds true. But I think you also have a GM who's looking at, Trout getting up there in age, and this is a chance to get to see Trout and Ohtani together in the playoffs. All right, what do you think? Has your mind changed at all? Do you think that Ohtani is moving at the deadline? Do you think it's a mistake if he stays? What do you like on this a couple months later?
Yeah, it's tough, man. I think I think it boils down to what happens over the next 3, 4, 5 weeks. I really do. I mean, if you're right in the thick of it, kind of like what they are right now, I mean, I understand if they want to stand pat and try to make a push, like, I understand.
Mm-hmm.
But I still stick by what I said a few weeks ago. I think that if you – I mean, this is – okay. When you come into the fork in the road, you got to take it. That's what Yogi Berra said, right? So, here's the thing. This is – and I'm not exaggerating. This is a franchise-altering moment.
Yep.
For the Angels right now. I mean, you can be very short-sighted, and you can only look at this year, and you can go all in if you want to. But here's the thing, man. If Ohtani walks and you don't get anything for him, I mean, that is GM malpractice, in my opinion.
Perry Manassium.
Because we're talking about a team that has traditionally struggled over the last decade or more. Mm-hmm. And their farm system has never been to the standard as some of your elite organizations. Mm-mm. And I'm telling you, this is their one shot to potentially change that in a big, big way. And that's the thing, man. For all of those reasons, that's why I say stick by kind of what I'm saying. I understand it's difficult to trade arguably the most talented human being that's ever stepped foot on a baseball field. Like, I get it.
Yeah.
But you just can't let him go for nothing. You just can't do it.
Nope. Yeah, okay, so here's the deal. Perry Manassium, that's GM of the Angels, and this is on your resume forever. A bigger move will not be made. You could say the same thing when Mookie got traded for a couple of prospects here in Boston. I don't know, man. I go back and forth on the hardcore. The argument you just made makes me say, hey, dude, you better ship him out of here. But the thing is, I think the Angels might be going for it. I don't know if you saw today they acquired Eduardo Escobar from the Mets. And, I mean, that's no all-star hitter by any stretch. But he's pretty solid, and he can replace Gio Urshela, who went on he'll be out the rest of the season. So, that kind of speaks to maybe they're going for it. Maybe that's not the only move they make. But, man, if you don't make the playoffs and you hold on to Ohtani, you better re-sign him. I mean, dude, you better be willing to spend $600 million. I think that has to be a serious discussion between the owner and that GM, and they have to understand the optics of this, and it's not going to be very good if he walks out the door.
I think that's the information that obviously we don't know right now. Like, we have no idea really where Ohtani and his representation stand, with the Angels organization. Here's the thing. I've got to believe that the ownership group, the GM, I would believe they're in constant communication with the agent of Shohei. And because here's the thing, if I'm the GM, I've got to at least know, do I have a chance at least to re-sign him?
Sure.
Because that changes things. If you feel like you have a legitimate shot of re-signing him, then that changes it. But if you know that he's walking, if he's basically said, look, I don't think this is going to work long term, then you've got to get something for him. Yep.
Hey, I hate to, dude, Red Sox fan, I hate to keep bringing back Mookie, but Chaim Bloom took the job, and everybody, my mom knew the Boston Red Sox were not paying Mookie $350 million.
Yep.
Okay, that changes negotiation tactics. So this potentially could just be a moment where we're going to say we're not going to trade him. The prospect packages will be more. It undoubtedly, any way this gets unpacked, any way you slice this, it's going to be stuff we've never seen. It's going to be Soto-esque or better prospect package.
Yep.
It's going to be $600 million. It is going to be all the big dogs at the bowl. And I don't know that we'll ever see it. I mean, again, dude, it's insane when you think about what he's doing. It just, I don't know.
It's an ace starting pitcher.
Correct.
Plus a guy who's going to lead the American League in home runs probably.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Dude, just the perennial stuff, like the peripheral. That was like perennial, dude. We worked in the garden today. Okay, so I got flowers on the brain. Oh man, it was good. We got the mulch. We think we have a clay problem in our soil, but we dug past it. I think it's going to be okay. I'll keep you guys posted.
Good.
They're Rebecca is what it's called. Okay. Apple doesn't let you when you audio text. It just says Rebecca, so we just call it Rebecca at the Pyatt family house. But we know what we mean. And any Rebeccas out there, yeah, we're talking about you too. I don't know. Hey, peripheral stuff, right? The fact that he's gonna sell tickets. He is a world-renowned name and a star everywhere. Everybody knows Ohtani. Everybody knows Shohei. Man, it's a lot of fun to live through, but I would not want that GM's job. That is a tough. It's almost a lose-lose.
Yep.
It is almost a lose-lose.
It is.
There's no good unless you're just going to pay the money and you're going to keep them there. It's a lose-lose.
Yep.
We got some winners here. We got some losers here. Let's move on to studs and duds here, Will. We made it to the outfield position. This one was fun as I was rolling through. We typically go 3-3, and we kept it that way. But there's so many outfielders. If you're listening to this and you're like, why didn't they mention so-and-so? It's because we only have an hour a week, hour plus. So we're gonna try and do our best here. Let's hit the studs here, Will. And the stud of all studs, man, we got some big names at the top in the outfield position. Ronald Acuna Jr. We ranked him number 1 overall, and dude, we nailed it. Good job because he is playing to the best outfielder in all of baseball. Listen to some of these stats. A .329 average, 16 home runs, 47 RBIs, 66 runs scored, and 33 stolen bases. He's a front runner for National League MVP. What more can you say about this guy?
He's been unbelievable. I mean, he has been unbelievable. He is – I think he's even better than he was pre-injury. Mm-hmm. And he was insane then. But, man, what a talent. I mean, the guy's got it all. And we don't even cover how amazing he is in that outfield and how good of an arm he has. Yeah. If there's a play at the plate and runners trying to tag on him, dude, he's got a cannon. Yeah. Just an amazing talent. I don't think, honestly, he gets enough talk about how sensational he is. Mm-hmm. He is truly one of the most gifted baseball players of my lifetime. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, we're getting to witness this. He's just entering his prime as well. Mm-hmm. So we should be getting these type of numbers for the foreseeable future. And what can you say, man? I mean, this guy looks to be the locked and loaded number 1 overall pick for fantasy for years to come.
That's it. He is way above average at every statistic, and he plays for a rock star team. Yep. This next guy is a rock star, okay? And if you drafted him, it probably wasn't in the first round this year unless you're a wild man or woman. Here we go, Corbin Carroll. We had him ranked as a lottery ticket, okay? 33rd overall on our list, okay? He is currently playing to the second best outfielder in all of Major League Baseball. How about this, some statistics? 301 batting average, 16 home runs, 41 RBIs, 58 runs, 23 stolen bases. Dude, I'm looking at it on the sheet. Those are pretty close to Ronald Acuna, as this guy is locked and loaded for the National League Rookie of the Year. What do you like about Corbin? What's not to like about Corbin Carroll?
It's unbelievable, man. I mean, this guy is fantasy gold. I mean, as good of a player as he is in real life, he's an even better fantasy player because he does everything that that a fantasy team wants out of their absolute elite players. So I don't know. There just doesn't seem to be many holes in his game. I mean, this guy is going to go from, as you mentioned, we put him in lottery tickets. And to be fair, the only reason we did that is because he only played a month or a couple of months to end the season last year. So we really only got a taste of kind of what's to come with this guy. But man, he's a locked and loaded top 5 pick moving forward in my book. I mean, unless he just totally falls off the map for the rest of the season, and I do not expect that to happen. I mean, he's got top 3 to 5 pick overall written all over him.
Yeah.
I mean, and here's the thing. Here's the most impressive thing to me. We're kind of seeing this in Cincinnati right now with De La Cruz too.
Uh-huh.
The most impressive thing to me is when a young guy is brought up that's highly regarded, a big-time prospect. Not only do they live up to the billing as far as their talent goes, but the team also just takes off.
Yep.
You saw this in Baltimore as soon as Elly Rutschman, we've talked about it, as soon as Elly Rutschman got called up, it's not a coincidence that the Orioles just started winning all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Guess what? Arizona started winning as soon as Corbin Carroll got called up.
Yeah.
As soon as Elly De La Cruz and Matt McLean got called up in Cincinnati, woohoo, they start winning.
Yeah.
And so to me, aside from fantasy, they're all awesome in fantasy. But to me, the most impressive thing is these young guys not only living up to the expectations, but also doing the things to help their respective ball clubs win games.
Yes,
That is as impressive as anything to me.
Yeah, he is. Nope, everything you said, man. I don't know. When you have the best player on the field, that has to give your team just some confidence.
Yeah.
And in my mind, all those guys you just named, that's what you got. Like, you got a guy, man. Like, that is an all-star. And you just got to walk a little different. I mean, boom, you bring this guy up. He, like you said, cup of coffee in 22. He's your 3-hitter now. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's dude, baseball is in such a good spot right now. And I know there was some question to that with these rule changes. And I think as we've kind of settled into the new norm, it is looking good with this youth. And man, it is a fun product currently. Last stud, Adolis Garcia. We ranked him 15th. We knew if he got his average up, which he has, he would perform like he has, man. What about third best outfielder out there? I didn't have that. I knew he was a stolen base and a home run guy. He could help you with the power and speed. But how about this? A 261 average, 17 home runs, 60 RBIs, 55 runs scored, and 6 stolen bases. Here's a guy in the middle of that Texas lineup that is just going. What do you like about him?
Yeah, you kind of said it. I mean, he's always had the power-speed combination that's been a huge asset to his game. But I feel like this year, obviously it helps that the Rangers have just taken off. I mean, we've talked about how good that lineup is. So there's always opportunities for a guy like that who's hitting the middle of that lineup to drive runs in and to score a lot of runs. But the thing that, to me, this year that looks different with a guy like Adolis Garcia is – he looks a lot more disciplined at the plate. He's always been a super aggressive, like kind of swing at anything type of guy. And don't get me wrong, he's still really aggressive and he still strikes out. But he's taking more walks. He is not swinging at as many uncompetitive pitches. And over the course of a season, if a guy like him who's got all the power and all the talent in the world, if he can get the plate approach right and not swing at so many bad pitches, I mean, logic tells you that the batting average is only going to go up and the production is only going to go up. And I feel like that's kind of what we're seeing. So, shout out to him, man. I don't see any reason if his plate approach continues like this, he's going to have a big time year for sure.
Yeah, he fills up the stat sheet, man. I like it. All right. Bring in the storm clouds, guys, because we're talking duds. And these are 3 big names. And maybe I'm being a little harsh here, a little unfair. Let us know. Leave us a comment. Say, hey, those duds are studs, and you be nice to them, Cody. Here we go. All right. This one's going to sting for a lot of people. Julio Rodriguez. We had him ranked the 2nd best outfielder. He was all the rage in 2022, currently playing up to the 17th best outfielder. He has a 237 average, 12 home runs, 40 RBIs, 45 runs scored, and 16 stolen bases. He's participating. This is a thing I just read this morning. Participating in the home run derby. Okay, a lot of people think that hurts your swing. Maybe it'll have a reverse effect, and it'll unlock something.
Yeah.
What do you got on J-Rod, bud?
So it's really funny you just said that because Juan Soto, his last full season in Washington, if you remember, same type of thing. His first half, by his standards, was not superb by Juan Soto standards. He participated in the home run derby that year. I think he either won it or made it to like the last round. And then the second half in Washington, he was unbelievable. You literally couldn't get him out. And so maybe there's something to it. So we'll see obviously what happens with Julio. So it's kind of been done before. So we'll see if it works for him. But going back to kind of his first half though, I mean, you said it. I mean, if you pick this guy and if you got him, you were going to have to invest a top 2, 3, 4, 5 overall pick in him.
First round for sure.
And a guy that's hitting 240, that's not really what you signed up for.
No.
I mean, the good thing is at least the stolen bases to an extent have been there. The power has somewhat been there. Which helps, but obviously the batting average is a killer right now. So it will all depend on kind of what he does over the course of the rest of the season. More importantly, Seattle. Seattle needs him to be that guy that he was a year ago. And so, what's going to be interesting with Julio, though, you can't say anything other than it's been a disappointment the first half of the season. But what happens throughout the second half of the season with him will really affect, I think, where he goes in the drafts fantasy wise next year. I mean, I think he's going to be a first rounder just because of his upside. But if he has a great second half, similar to what he did last year, he's back in top 5 discussion again.
Yeah.
But if he struggles, kind of stays around that 240, 250 mark, he's going to slide probably towards the back half at minimum of the first round. So it'll be interesting to kind of keep tabs on what happens the rest of the year.
Yeah, that's a tricky thing, man. There's so many good outfielders, really, especially at that first couple rounds that you could go and pick. And if he keeps on the pace he is, like I said, it's not a bad season for just average baseball player guy, but for him it is below average. He's got the tools. Let's see him click in and do it. Hey, this next guy, this is not a name I thought I'd be saying. Mike Trout. I don't know his middle name. What's Mike Trout's middle name? I don't know. Somebody let me know in the comments. We ranked him number 7, and I'll tell you why we did it. How about some injuries? Okay, that was our major concern. He's elite. We always said one of the best we've ever seen play the game of baseball in our lifetime. Currently playing to the 20th best outfielder. 250 average, 16 home runs, 40 RBIs, 47 runs, 1 stolen base. The speed is not there, and the slugging is way down. Okay, now I'm going to say a number, 477, and that's not terrible, but it's the first time his slugging's been under 600 since 2016. So something is off. I looked at the underlying stuff. The only big change I could see was in slugging. His strikeout rate has been down since about 2019, or been up rather. He's been striking out a lot the last 3 years. But I think as his game has changed, he is definitely, he hits for more power, but he strikes out a little bit more. What do you see in Mike Trout?
Man, it's tough. I will say, out of all of the guys, regardless of position, I think the most surprising guy in all of Major League Baseball from a fantasy perspective, that if you told me halfway through the Major League Baseball season, this guy right here has the stat line of this, and you told me it's Mike Trout, I would have been shocked. I would have been like, all right, what's bothering him? What injuries has he had already? And, I mean, here's the thing. We don't know if he's got some sort of lingering injury. We have no idea. But we have to assume that he's healthy because he's been on the field. And so, I don't know, man. This one is a shocker to me.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing you alluded to it that makes any kind of sense is I mean, his strikeout rate is really elevated, and it has been kind of trending that way over the past few seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's finally starting to catch up with him.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, man, I this one is a shocker to me, and I
Yeah.
really don't have the answers.
Yep.
But it's just very, very surprising.
Yeah. Well, listen up, guys. I would call him believe it or not, a easier buy low candidate to land on because he's not 25 anymore.
Right.
Okay. Than like a Julio. So throw some fillers out there. I saw a picture of Jack Sawinski versus Mike Trout and their numbers. And Jack Sawinski had better numbers than Mike Trout in a lot of different ways over there in Pittsburgh. So, but everything. You look at the back of the baseball card, man. The accolades, they're there. I would not be surprised if he doesn't snap out of it and go on a tear here in the second half of the season. So this is your window. Will and I have been kicking around a segment talking about windows opening and closings to trade for, buy low and sell high players. Windows now. So send out your fillers for Mike Trout, okay? Boy, that's not a word I thought I'd be saying.
Right.
How about this? Last guy. And I mean, it just seems to be my favorite pastime is throwing water on this guy. Kyle Schwarber, okay, famed half a season Red Sox, was on that team, 21 when he made the run to the ALCS. Boy, we picked him the 18th. That's the security blankets. Again, there's a lot of outfielders, so a lot of security blankets. Currently playing to the 42nd baseball outfielder. Baseball outfielder, Lord have mercy. Here we go. It's getting late, guys. 42nd best outfielder in baseball. There it is, Will. 99th percentile in base on ball rate. So he's walking a lot. He's hitting a ton of home runs. He's not doing anything else. Statistics: 185 average, 20 home runs, 41 RBIs, 44 runs, and 0 stolen bases. K. Schwarbs, what do you like? What do you not? What are we doing with this guy?
Feels like the modern day Adam Dunn.
That's such a good call, dude.
It just feels that way. I mean, I remember back in the day, Adam Dunn was exactly this way. You couldn't overlook the power numbers because it was some of the best in the league, and he would go on hot streaks, and it's like, man, Adam Dunn has hit 7 home runs in the past 10 games, right? And then he would go on some weeks, he'd literally go like 3 for 40 with 20 strikeouts, and so I mean, this is just your classic case of, is it a home run? Is it a walk? Is it a strikeout?
That's it.
I actually, believe it or not, I actually traded for him in one of our leagues, and it's a category league, and it's really my only logic in doing that is since it's a category league, I do like the fact that if I need, in order to win a certain week, if I need more walks, if I need more RBIs, or if I need more home runs, I can just plug him in on certain days and just kind of hope for the best. But if I had this guy in a roto league or something similar to that where it wasn't head-to-head on a weekly basis, man, it would be tough. Because you just never know. Like, the guy could go 0 for 5 with 4 strikeouts any given moment. Or he could go 2 for 3, 2 home runs, 6 RBIs, and it's like, man, I'm a fool for keeping him on my bench. So,
correct.
It's just one of those things. If you've got him on your team, you got to roll with the punches. But the good news is he is starting to get on base more. He's walking more, and he is starting to turn it on from a power perspective. So, as long as you have realistic expectations, you can roll with that. If you expect this guy to buoy your batting average, you've got the wrong guy.
This is no doubt. Yep. June Schwarber. That's all I got to say. Maybe he'll heat up a little bit. We kind of talked about it last episode, but he tends to go in the summertime months, and hopefully he'll pick it up. So will the Phillies, and maybe they can make a run.
Yep.
You mentioned rolling with the punches, Will. Let's move on to our last segment, my friend. We got the fireworks. It is time for the Roman Candle Player Pick-to-Click Player of the Week. I don't know what we're calling it. We're calling it everything, bud. You said rolling with the punches. I've been getting punched in the face by Will's great picks here for, I don't know, 6 weeks now. Okay. It's not looking great. It's not looking great. It's your first time listening. Thanks for listening at the hour mark here, guys. Will's currently up 5-1. We made some pretty toasty picks. I felt good about it for week 12, so let's talk about it. Will, you picked Randy Arozarena. Stud of, we said Wander is the best player on the Rays. This guy might be the second best, if not the best. He's pretty solid. 5 games played. Felt real good when I saw that. Okay, I was like, here we go. I'm going to really get some counting stats on my guy. 5 games played. How about a 10 for 20? That's a 500 batting average. 1 double, 1 home run, 6 RBIs, and a 1.283 OPS.
We'll take that.
We'll take that. That's money in the bank for old William there. Okay, I picked Carlos Correa. I looked at 7 games played and felt good about some of these matchups, okay, that we were seeing. However, 624, that's a 261 average. 6 for 24, 261 average. 1 home run, 2 RBIs, a 653 OPS. I mean close, but no cigar. I'd say it's about half as good as how it went for you. So that's very exciting. Will's now up 6-1. He's feeling very confident over there. Just for anybody keeping score, Cody, how'd you win that 1 week that you won? Well, his player got hurt on Monday and didn't play all week. So it was very hard fought, if that's what you're asking. That's exactly what happened. Okay, week 13 picks, Will. Who you got, buddy?
So I'm going to my Guardians. Pick, as our loyal listeners will remember, I was very high on the Guardians to begin the year, and unfortunately they haven't lived up to at least my expectations. But the good news is they're right behind the Twins, and they're starting to show some signs of playing better baseball. And a big reason for them being able to score some more runs here in the last few weeks, other than Jose Ramirez, has been Josh Naylor. He's actually been really one of the more under the radar guys in the league who's really been performing the past few weeks. And so I'm going to give him a shot this week for my pick to click. And Cleveland needs to start winning more games. If they can just get over the hump and take the lead in the division over the Twins, I feel like they might go. I don't want to say run away with it, but I feel like that might be just the boost they need to just kind of take it and stay there for the rest of the year. So so we're going to go Josh Naylor for this week.
Dude, somebody in the American League Central just needs to walk away with it. You don't have to run. No one's chasing you in the American League Central. Just take it and walk in that direction. Everybody's just kind of, they got it, and they're like, no, I want to go hang out with the other teams.
Yep.
Dude, that's actually a great call. Look for that to happen, because if, I don't know how long Tristan McKenzie's out, but maybe he comes back and does his thing. They got a lot of youth in that rotation for Cleveland. So I don't know, dude. They've been a pretty fun team to watch, pitching staff wise, because they got all these young guys. But the offense, man, what seemed so charming and fun last year, the small ball, and we're gonna dink and dunk you, for a football term, I guess. But I don't know, dude. I like that pick, Josh Naylor. Good.
This is a conversation for a different day, but I actually feel like the new rules have hurt a team like Cleveland.
Yeah.
And I don't know how, because it almost seems like the new rules should help a team like Cleveland, but some way, somehow, it's almost like doing the reverse effect, and they just haven't been the same as they were trending last year. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with the Guardians moving forward, to see if they can get going consistently. Yeah. But we'll see.
I hope they lose all 6 games next week, because the likelihood of your player doing well. I'm going to move on and talk about my player. I'm going to talk right to him. He's right here. Leody Taveras. Woo, guys, the wheels are coming off here at 9 p.m. on Saturday. Here we go. Leody Taveras, 24-year-old outfielder, has played a splash of the last 3 years in Texas. Got a couple cups of coffee over a 3-year stretch. He's really broken out in 2023. Okay, 24 years old. He's a switch hitter, center fielder. Man, has he looked good. Upticks in average, OBP, and slugging. How about this for some numbers? A 298 batting average, 8 home runs, 32 RBIs, 37 runs scored, and 7 stolen bases. He bats 9th for Texas. He is Texas Michael Harris. That is what I have formed that thought in my brain. I really like him. I think he puts together a great at bat. I've been watching a lot of Texas, and this guy's really caught my eye. So, come on, buddy. You can do this, okay? It's getting to the point. You're getting kind of Tom Brady-esque on me with the numbers here. You got 6 wins. I only have 1, okay? So we really need it. The comeback starts now. Anything on Leote before we head out of here?
Dude, I'm not kidding. I really like Leotis Taveras. By the way, if anybody out there is listening, if he's available in your league, take a strong look at him. Like I'm with everything Cody just said. He's been a guy that's been kind of on my radar, and I love the comparison to Michael Harris. There's a lot of similarities there, especially last year's version of Michael Harris.
Yeah.
And yeah, I really like what's going on there.
Dude, me too. You know what I like? What's going on? Hanging out with you, chatting baseball with you. This has been a lot of fun, man. Hey, guys, we really appreciate you listening. If you're here with us right now, I'm serious. You find a mirror in your home, okay? You look at yourself in that mirror, and you understand that you are a very important person to us, man. This is not something we take for granted. Anybody who presses any episode to listen to our crispy voices, that is just so cool to me. And we really appreciate it. We did not have dreams of this when we put this together. We're just 2 guys who love baseball, and so we really appreciate you guys. Reach out to us on Twitter at PTH_Cody and at Will Sism. If you're on the YouTube side, hit the subscribe button, thumbs up button. That'd be nice. Leave a comment, say hi. That would also be very nice. We love you. We appreciate you. Great luck in Week 13. But until then, thanks for listening to episode 36 of Bringing the Heat.